Everyone, thanks for joining us. I'd like to call this meeting to order and go over attendance now that we have quorum.
Ignacio Alegre,
Here.
Brent Beasley,
Here.
David Elliott,
Here.
Jack Healy, Marjorie Knitter,
Here.
Patrick Cortez. Patrick? Oh, he raised his hand. He's here. Maria Rosa Lopez,
Here.
Enrique Perez, Robert Ruiz. Robert, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. My apologies.
Thank you. Robert Tucker,
Here. A1, baby. A1.
Johanna Rivera,
Here.
Yeah.
Daisy Campos,
Here.
Pierre Loubet, Dennis Barnum. Thank you, Dennis.
Present.
Gail Araujo.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Annabelle Neri.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to move on to the next order, which is our Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone could place their right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Liberty,
and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, do we have any members of the public present that are available to or want to give any comments?
We don't have any.
Okay, thank you so much. At this time, I'd like to move on to the consent of the calendar items, the regular meeting minutes. I'd like a motion. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
We have a second. Great.
I'm sorry, who motioned and who second?
Brent.
And Tucker, second.
Thank you.
And that could be done as one action. Say all three items.
Okay. The next is the excused absences. And then fantastic. And then the number 3, Employment Development Department, Labor Market Information, Action, Receive and File. All approved, right?
I think now we need the vote for everyone to say aye or.
Okay.
Aye.
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 Right. All ayes, no nays. And that is the end of the consent calendar. Let's move on to the business calendar, the meeting calendar for 2023. Do we have dates available or the calendar to be shared?
It should be in your agenda packet. I don't have it to share on the screen, but I can certainly email it to everyone today. I'm pulling it off my wall. But we have a calendar that I'll send out to you. This calendar, if approved, will be shared with the city clerk and then posted with their public meeting agendas and calendars for the 2023. With the workforce board meeting scheduled to meet every other month for 2023. So January, March, etc.
Okay, so our next meeting will be March. Fantastic. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Great, thanks.
Who motioned? I'm sorry, it's just very hard to see it with all the screens.
I see Brent Beasley motion to approve, and second was I heard 2 voices, Bob and
Margie.
Margie, thank you.
thank you. That's the end of the business calendar. We're moving on to the work study session. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Annette Whittle, our regional organizer.
Good morning, everyone. As I said, I'm Annette Kelly Whittle. I'm the regional organizer. There may be some new people on that have never met me, but I serve all three workforce development board directors, not only Deborah, but also Marco in Anaheim and Karma in Orange County. I am going to share my screen. So we went through a branding process and we have a new name for our regional planning unit. So it was previously called Orange Regional Planning Unit. We have now renamed it to Orange Workforce Alliance. We're still a California Regional Planning Unit, which there are 15 of those throughout the state of California. And there are 45 Workforce Development Board areas that fall into these 15 planning units. So here in Orange County, we do have the 3 Workforce Development Boards. So that is our new logo and new coloring and everything else. And so I'll get into that a little bit more, but I like it so far. Some regional initiatives that are going on. We had a Workforce Development Board training that was facilitated by David Schinder back in October. If you were not able to attend and you would like to view it, I do have the link to that to where you guys can go out there and watch the board presentation. So it's kind of an orientation for the board, helping board members understand the role of board members and some things that they have oversight over and a little bit of history of it. And I'm sure Deborah can send out this PowerPoint, which has the links in there. You can just click on to go to this training. We are currently in the process of modifying our regional and local plans. This is at the 2-year mark at the time that we wrote the current plans. It was right at the beginning of the pandemic, the height of the pandemic, and you will see that language reflected in that plan. So a lot of times at that 2-year mark, we don't really have a whole lot to update, but in this case, we kind of, things have changed since then, and in many ways. And so how we deliver our services and what we're going to do going forward will now be reflected in this 2-year modification. We've had a couple of community meetings, which took place in November. So we've got some community input. And then our next thing now is that we are going to get everything written up. We're going to finalize it or get it as final as possible and open it for public comment starting February 1st. And it'll be open for 30 days from February 1st to March 2nd. So after that public comment period, it will go back. It will have to go to the state by March 31st, and then probably sometime in March, it will go again to the board to review for approvals, and then also have to go to the other 2 boards. The local plan is a joint local plan, and the regional plan is really all about the Orange Workforce Alliance now, which, with the planning unit. So it's about what we do as far as to advance the region as a whole, whereas the local plan operationalizes what the boards do on the local level and how they deliver services. Okay. So our next meeting that we're going to have for the boards, which is going to be all 3 workforce development boards together, is the Orange Regional Planning Unit Regional Board meeting. That's going to be January 25th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. That is going to be at the Santa Ana Police Department Community Room. And so if you can attend, it would be great. It's only one of 2 meetings that we are starting to have in a year. We've only had one other one, which was in June. We've started on the strategic planning process for the region, which David Schinder again has facilitated for us, and he'll facilitate this next meeting. And in addition to that, we will have a draft of the plan that we'll have some discussion around and continue that strategic planning process. So we need as much board member input as we possibly can. Again, the meeting's 9 to 12. We try not to take up too much of your time. The last meeting was a little longer and we still didn't get through the agenda. So we do have lots to discuss. So if you can make it, please attend. And then the other things that are going on, we have regional grants that we work on as a region. So the Regional Planning Implementation 4.0 grant is just closed December 31st. The regional implementation planning grants are the grants that pay for the regional organizers. So each of the 15 planning units throughout the state of California are funded under these grants And each one has that regional organizer to serve as a liaison kind of between the state workforce development board and the local workforce development board. So that particular grant just came to an end. We were able to pretty much, we think, expend all of the money. There may be a little bit left, just maybe under $5,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. But we've managed to accomplish pretty much everything that we want to. I think the one thing that we still are struggling with is to really move our industry sector partnerships forward, but hopefully with new branding and marketing materials, we can kind of beef that up over the next coming year. The Regional Equity and Recovery Program was slated to start on December the 31st last year. It has been delayed. The state has recently, in the beginning of this month, has put out a webinar orientation for everyone. However, no contracts have come out. So we are still waiting. They haven't really given us a date of when they start, even though they're really trying to put everybody to work already. So we'll see how that works. This particular grant is a partnership grant with our community colleges. So it is also another kind of regional grant where the funding for the regional organizer has partially come out of this particular grant also. But the difference in this grant as opposed to our regional planning implementation 4.0 grant, it's money that came from the chancellor's office as well as the California Workforce Development Board. So it's two funding streams. We had to partner with our community colleges and they submitted projects. Their projects are funded under the chancellor's office. So they are still also waiting for awards as far as that is concerned on what projects were awarded and contracts also. And then there's the part of funding that comes from the California Workforce Development Board side that is still for the 3 workforce development boards to do their regional work. But so this is the first time we're doing this. So again, I think we're just getting a little slow start as far as them trying to figure out how to contract and make that all work together. Our regional planning implementation grant was supposed to start on January 1st. Again, we still have a delay in that funding. We don't have contracts yet, but it is very similar to the regional planning implementation 4.0 grant. They scaled it down as far as the amount of money because they did do this additional grant, which was the Regional Equity and Recovery Program grant. I think Carlos is going to talk about the prison to employment grant, but that's something that was also awarded, and I'll save that for him. And then we have the Community Economic and Resilience Funding. There's currently a solicitation that's out right now for the SURF program. Some of you may not have been aware, but we did apply for the Community Economic Resilience Funding Planning Grant. We were not awarded that as a region for the RPU region. Let me clarify that. The region did get a grant. So Orange County region got a grant and it was awarded to OCBC. However, they have not started work on that either because they do not have a contract either. This pilot project is supposedly the implementation part of that grant. So initially, the way the state envisioned this was that there would be a SURF grant that was a planning grant. You create planning tables, and out of these planning tables would come projects that would be funded under this pilot project. For some reason, before we've gotten into the planning, they have released this. It is open now, and there are going to be 13 awards. The state divided the state up into 13 regions. Not to be confused with our 15 regions for our workforce development board. It would have been too much like right if they actually made the same regions. But the good thing is that Orange County remained its own region. It's not coupled with any other counties or anything. So I would think that each region would get at least one. The maximum amount is 10 million, but the whole pot is 50 million. So obviously everybody couldn't ask for the max and and there be 13 grants. So so they're looking for projects that have already been in existence, and these are economic development projects, right, which are inclusive of community-led economic development that includes workforce development. So very much a partnership type of grant, but it is more economic development centered. So if anyone knows anyone who wants to spearhead that, I haven't yet heard of anyone leading a project in it yet. But that one is available, and that's
Because for that project, they have to get a letter of support from one of the 3 workforce boards, correct?
they do have to have a letter of support from 3 of the workforce development boards. They do not have to be part of the High Roads Transition Collaborative yet. So initially, again, as it was originally intended, you had to be a part of the High Roads Transition Collaborative. Those are the ones that could submit for a project. If you weren't part of it, then you would have to go before the High Roads Transition Collaborative, which was made up of community-based organizations, EDAs, whoever that team is in your county. So what they're saying is you have to have the Workforce Development Board approval, but not the HRTC approval. However, they will do that. They will make sure that you are part of the HRTC. The state will facilitate that. So I think, we all know in government sometimes it may be funding that needs to just get out the door really quickly. So they are moving ahead on a step that they didn't initially plan on moving ahead on until after the planning was underway. So that's that. Is there any questions for me on that part? Okay. So I'm just gonna get into the collateral materials that were developed. So as I said, we kind of went through a branding process. Some of you may have been on some of those meetings and provided some input. So this is our final logo for the Orange Workforce Alliance. And you see the one in color in black and white. And then we have our regional website, which is the Orange Workforce Alliance. I'll pull it up just quickly, just so you can kind of get a quick look. But again, we'll send out this PowerPoint to you guys, and you can kind of go through and scroll. But I think it looks very clean, colorful. The audience does kind of focus on pretty much everyone. So our job seekers, our businesses, and our community-based organizations. We have resources here, which include business resources, which is just kind of a listing of business resources. But and we also have labor market information that we are drawing from eImpact on. So they put this dashboard together that will be updated. And you can go through here and look at the labor market information for our local area. So that's going to be available and continuously updated. So our top employers, annual job postings, unemployment rate. So there's lots of good information here you guys can have a look at later.
So the thought is to start to have a presence as a region and coalesce our workforce information together so businesses may have one portal to look at. And then no matter where they are in the county, any of the workforce boards can assist them, whichever one makes best sense. But beginning to have a single voice while still attaining our autonomy, but yet having a one marketing place that we can refer businesses to and or the residents as well.
Yeah. So you can see this is kind of the business services page, but here at the bottom, you can see all 3 workforce development boards listed there. Eventually, it will be the place as we get our industry sector meetings going and projects underway where we can showcase the projects and be able to show some success in those areas. There'll be news and events, job postings. Some of it is still being built out. So there's still some work to be done on the website, but the majority of it is here, and definitely excited for this. Is I think something that's just really going to help solidify our presence and just really kind of, again, have that single voice that people are looking for. Sometimes it just gets very confusing when you have three workforce development boards as well as community-based organizations and your community colleges all kind of in a similar space, talking similar language and different language, all trying to partner. But I think it can get confusing for businesses sometimes to know where to go to, who to reach out to for certain things. But we're really hoping to just try to have a great single point of contact. A lot of people really rely on our OC region emails that go out, and whether that's our community-based organizations or education institutions, but a lot of people really like the information that comes out of that. And so we want to keep that going, as well as kind of make this one-stop place for everyone. So there's definitely more to come on that. And then we do have 2 brochures. So there's a community brochure. It's a saddle stitch brochure that's kind of an overview of workforce development board services and industry sector information. And that would be this image here. And again, I have links to these things. I probably would have to log in here. I'll pull it up here. But when you get the PowerPoint, you can click on them and you can download a link to the actual flyer, to the brochure. So this is just kind of a quick view of it. And then the other one is the trifold brochure. So it provides an overview, workforce development board and business services and partnership opportunities. So it's more of a business focused one. And it's just kind of a little trifold, probably a little smaller than I thought it was going to be, but it's our first go around. As my eyes start to diminish as I get older, I was like, oh, okay. Thought that was going to be bigger. So we did get the
size 14 font works for me now.
yeah. So so we do have hard copies of those. If anybody wants them, we can definitely get them to you. I will have them at the January 25th meeting. And again, when we send this out, if you just click on these links, you can download those brochures and get a copy of those also in PDF version.
I have a couple of quick comments, if I may. This is Bob Tucker. Perhaps I haven't seen the community brochure, but I hope that there's a link to labor resources, perhaps the Orange County Labor Federation. And I'm looking forward to the January 25th meeting. And if you would please convey to David to not express anti-union animus as he did in the last meeting. That would be helpful.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
And then, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back. So you're saying on the website, you wanted to see?
Perhaps the community brochure part where at least there's listed a link to labor union resources, since we're part of the Alliance. Perhaps the Orange County Labor Federation, just a thought. And I'll bring that up at the next meeting.
Okay, and I could probably do that on the actual website. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Definitely any input, please, on this website. I will tell you that it was done very quickly. Everything was done very quickly because we did have the close of that grant December 31st. And so, you know, nothing's final. So we can definitely make some changes, and I see things that I already want to change. So but that's all I have. Any other questions? All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, Annette. Appreciate it. And we can move on to our next order here. It's the committee reports. I will turn it over to Bob Tucker.
Hi, the Youth Council has been working with the request for proposals. We have 2 organizations that have submitted proposals, and we'll be meeting together on that. One of the things we're finding is now with is competitive wages. I mean, the state minimum wage is $15.50 an hour, but a lot of young people are saying they can find work for a higher wage elsewhere. So it's a global conversation we need to have on how we can be more competitive to attract youth and organizations. And Sandy, would you like to share?
Yeah, I think to that point, something that we've been looking at is increasing the wages for the various programs. I'll talk in a little bit about the stay in California for all, but for sure, I think there has been the consensus across the board with our current youth providers as far as having a difficulty enrolling into their programs if they're still at the 16 mark hourly. And so I think it's something to take a hard look at and see our surrounding businesses, what they're competing with. If truly McDonald's is paying more than our government jobs and or our programs, it makes it that much more challenging. You know, do I want to flip a burger for $18 an hour, or do I want to have to think in a job while I'm still finishing school? And obviously we all know that programs and the career pathway that we're putting them on is so much more important, and we're providing so much more that it outweighs the $16 an hour. But for youth, currently, I think they're looking at that fast buck. And so it makes it that much more challenging for our program coordinators and developers to really get those youth into the program. So we are going to be looking at that, but we do have 2 agreement proposals that we'll be looking at. I'm getting the final link to cross-check, make sure that all of the elements that were required to submit into the agreements have been submitted. And I should be taking them out to our rating committee, which thank you so much for helping me with this and setting the time aside to help me read these 2. So I will be outreaching to all of you today and then hopefully dropping them off next week and setting up the timeline for us to rate, review them, and then potentially interview them if we have additional questions on the proposals.
That's it.
Sorry, I had a quick question. This is Johanna. For the youth program, if there's teens that are interested, where do you refer them to?
If they're youth that are interested in one of our programs,
Correct.
they could
You
either
guys advertise.
come here to the work center and we will assess them to see which would best fit them, or they could go directly to any one of our youth providers and then they will do the same thing. That's the benefit of having a youth service provider network, is that regardless of whichever agency they go to that is funded for WIOA, that if they don't fit their particular program, then they will refer them to one of the ones in the network. And if still that doesn't work, then somebody else in the community. But for the most part, I think all of our providers offer extensive services that they're either able to offer it themselves or refer to our one of their counterparts within the network. But yes, either here, our office at the work center, or any one of our youth providers, which currently are Orange County Children's Therapeutic Arts Center and Orange County Conservation Corps.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob and Sandy.
Thank you.
At this point, we can move on to our next order of business. Any other comments from any staff members?
I have a comment. Thank you. First, I'd like to welcome our newest board member, Dr. Annabelle Neary. She's president of Santa Ana College, and she was able to join us in this meeting. She was approved by City Council at the November council meeting and then was sworn in this morning so she could participate. So thank you and welcome, Dr. Neary. We look forward to working with you and welcoming you to our Santa Ana community.
Good morning, and thank you for the welcome.
And then I'd like to give an update. Can you believe it? It's been 5 years since the work center has moved to its current location at 801 Civic Center Drive. I still remember as yesterday because it was a lot of work. But the past 9 months, Carlos and I have been working closely with a broker to reevaluate our lease. We did have an option to extend the lease or to renegotiate the lease to do a longer lease, but we wanted to do our due diligence. So we did view 4 other properties in the area that we thought might be candidates, because we have to be mindful to make sure that the building we're located in also meets strict ADA and seismic conditions. At the end of the search, we've chosen to stay at this property, and we negotiated and have a 10-year lease term. So staff is working with the city attorney's office to finalize the lease document, and we're getting ready to take it to city council in late February. or early March if need be for approval. And then we'll sit down with all the partners to renegotiate the MOUs now that we have the new lease terms. So I'm just letting the board members know we plan to stay. We will be bringing in additional partners with our housing authority, maybe not the housing authority, but the housing division. And we'll know more of that probably in the next 8 months as to what that's going to look like and where we can collaborate even more with our housing agency. And then also as a partner expansion, Family Self-Sufficiency has grown its entity, it's grown its grant within the Section 8 Housing Authority. And they have 2 employees now working on Family Self-Sufficiency that is working with families who are receiving Section 8 and putting them into a program to help them grow within their career pathway or to get training so they have a career pathway. And as they earn more wages, instead of sanctioning their Section 8 housing and reducing it, they take that money that they would have given them and put them into an escrow account. And at the end of the program, those Family Self-Sufficiency participants can get that money and use it for a down payment on a house or a condo or whatever. It's a pretty cool program. And they've grown it to where now they have 2 staff. So they're asking for an additional space here at the work center so that we can increase our collaboration. And then Sarah Jobs for Progress has also requested to expand their presence here. And they work with residents who are 55 years of age and older. Is that right, Carlos? 55? Is that the threshold? 55 and older, which means I qualify now, to work with our seniors in Santa Ana. And they've asked if they can expand their operations here. So we'll be reconfiguring our spaces over the next several months, but just wanted to give you a heads up on that. And then I'll turn it over to Carlos and Sandy if they have any further comments.
Sandy, you want to go first?
Sure, not a
Looks like she
problem. Let me go ahead and update you on a couple of our programs. So we are excited, as Deborah mentioned in the agenda, to launch our California for All. Our goal for that program is 290 youth. It sunsets April of 2024, so we do have some time. Currently, our current enrollments are 46, so we do have a ways to go, but usually during the later months of the year, we get that summer rush where we get quite significant enrollments because the youth are out of school. However, for this particular program, it is 16 to 30-year-olds. So we're trying to focus in on that older population currently. And even for those youth that are interested, getting them on board and working, the max hours they can work is 700 hours at $17 an hour. So they're really exciting. We wanted to make it enticing for them to want to stay, keep that retention within the program because it is not a 1-month program, but it's more of a 6-month program. And offering to the work site that flexibility of getting youth that they can mentor, whether it's for a small project or larger projects. So we are still looking for work sites. Currently, we have 154 positions available for this particular program. We are still looking, like I mentioned, our goal is 290. So if you know any nonprofits or government jobs, entities, agencies, departments, what have you, that are interested in getting assistance, I think we can all say everybody's overworked right now, working really hard. So any extra help is always nice. And if you can help a youth out in the community, even better. So if you do have anybody to refer, please let myself or Deborah know and we will reach out to them. In addition to that, we have our Stay Employment program. The goal of that one is 150 youth. However, the age for that program is 16 to 21 years of age to complement our youth service provider network and providing them with a shorter program of a max 200 hours at $16 an hour. We are looking to potentially increase the hourly because of what I mentioned previously, so that we are a little bit more competitive. And we are still offering the career awareness workshop. We're working very closely with Working Wardrobes to provide intensive workshops, about 30 hours of intensive workshops from work readiness, resume writing, sexual harassment, how to communicate, those soft skills that are important to every work site. For that particular program, we have 113 positions. So again, for the Stay Employment program, we are still looking for work sites and positions. So if you know anybody, it doesn't have to be government or nonprofit, it could be private businesses too that we work with. So if you have anybody that you think would benefit or would like to be a part of either of these programs, feel free to send them over to us. Like I mentioned, we are working with Working Wardrobes. We have the youth going to, as part of their workshops, having them go to Working Wardrobes to get outfits, which is always fun to see. They do have a professional photographer that is taking pictures of the before and after and the smiles on their face. They're getting really nice suits. From what I've heard from the staff, and the girls are also getting really nice outfits with the whole accessories. We are working with them to provide more of a business casual with maybe 1 or 2 items that is available for that interview. But because most of our work sites offer that business casual, given that they are younger youth with not an extensive closet like most of us have, we want to make sure that it is useful and they don't stick it in the back of a closet. The other item that I wanted to mention that we're really proud of is the calendars. I don't know if Deborah has had an opportunity to send them out. I know we have put together a calendar of all of our youth programs with a picture of them and their quotes on how it's benefited, how any one of our program, whether it's our youth service provider network, our SAVE program, or California for All, how it's benefited them. And they've written some quotes which are very heartwarming. I do have a success story too. I'm not sure if I shared it with you, but I can definitely share it. And our goal is to increase those success stories and put them out into the community and our various departments here so that they know how valuable and how important all of our programs are and what a difference they're making in the youth's lives and future careers. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we have going on in addition to the youth service provider rating committee and proposals that we're reviewing. Any questions?
If I can go on, Sandy glossed over that calendar and the bios a little. Staff worked really hard to put this calendar together and the copy will be given to you in the next week. But they were able to get photos of the youth at their work sites, along with the statement of what brought them joy to that job or what they learned. And it's really intriguing to see them working. Some are at our police department, working in the CSI unit and other aspects of the PD and getting career pathways. Others are at City Hall, others are at community nonprofits. And we're also working closely with the city manager's office to get it on the city's website, which will also promote these programs to the community. And then also into Instagram, Facebook, and what is it? Twitter or Snapchat, whatever the other one is that youth look at, so that we could also communicate to youth, because once the youth start to see that job looks pretty cool, or that looks pretty nice, I'll start to join it, and the parents will learn of it and will say, get over to the work center and get something going here, guys. But it's a really nice calendar that says this is what's happened in the last 12 months. And there's one youth there we call Samson, who came to us with long hair, always wore the same flannel shirt every time he came to work, baggy jeans, walking on the heels of it because they weren't hemmed. And at the end of his 3 or 4 months with us, he had a very nice haircut, a shirt with a collar on it, and he walked around, different. So he took more pride in his work and had found meaning in that. So you could see a transformation in the youth, whatever the job might be. This calendar helps represent that.
Yeah, thank you.
Carlos?
Okay, that was a great update. Thank you. My update is going to be focusing on the expansion that the Work Center is doing to assist justice-involved individuals. Currently, we are working with the Orange County jails to conduct workshops for the inmates that are going to be being released within the next 90 to 180 days. Staff has already begun the background process because they require us to do background checks as well as some training. We expect to be there soon to conduct workshops once a week with a selected portion of the inmates. And the second thing, to piggyback on what Annette reported on, I'm happy to report that the Orange County region submitted a proposal to receive monies to help justice-involved people, and we were awarded a grant in the amount of $884,000 to serve justice-involved people over 3 years, starting this January and ending December 2025. We're preparing right now all the things that we need to do in order to begin using the money, including having it recognized by council. And we plan to procure this money out for competitive bidding so that nonprofits who specialize in serving justice-involved people can apply for this money. This grant is a partnership with the California Department of Corrections. It's intended so that they could refer folks to us that are being released, so that we could provide your typical, well, I shouldn't say your typical, the type of services that would lead for them to upgrade their skills, which would include training and apprenticeship programs. It is a much more flexible program than WIOA, which is a good thing. We need that kind of flexibility to serve these folks. I did mention the partnership with CDCR, but that doesn't mean we can only serve people from paroles. We can also serve people that are on probation or other people that are justice involved. And with that, that concludes my report. I'm open to questions should you have any.
Thank you, Carlos, and thank you, Sandy, for those updates. At this point, I'd like to see if there's any comments from the board members. Anyone? Go ahead, Bob. It looks like you unmuted.
Yeah, just a real quick reminder. I think we're all aware of how artificial intelligence is changing the labor force and workforce and the jobs of the future. It's changing rapidly. From a labor union point of view, we have concerns about displacement of workers as these new jobs come forward. And also with youth, we want to make sure, and we've had conversations, making sure we train youth for jobs that are actually still going to be there, because artificial intelligence is changing. So I just suggest folks, if you see an article about it, read up on it. It's here, it's changing things. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else? Okay, at this point, I'd like to call for an adjournment of this meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
I hear Brent, and second from
Ignacio as well.
Ignacio.
Robert.
Oh, Robert. Thank you, Robert and any nays? Okay, that's it. That's calls for closure of our meeting. Thank you so much for being present, and welcome, Dr. Neri.
Thank you.
Oh, Dons.
Go Dons, that's right.
Thank
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.